Rocky Top Insider presents the RTI Lowdown with Bob Baskerville and Chris Lowe.
Welcome. It is time for another episode of the RTI Lowdown. I'm your host, Bob Baskerville, joined as always by the one and only, one of the originals. I say that kindly. That's Chris Lowe with On3 Sports. Chris, how you doing? You good?
I'm great. Just off the road from the great state of Ohio.
Excellent. Well, we'll talk a little bit about that and the Vols. Got to talk about the Vols for better or worse. We're going to talk about all that, but we sure appreciate you joining us. We're available to you. If you're watching us now, you're checking us out on Rocky Top Insider's YouTube channel. And if you haven't done this already, like and subscribe. We're getting a lot of positive feedback on the show, good support, and we sure do appreciate that. Maybe you listen to us as a podcast, and that's fine too. We're available wherever you find your podcasts for your own listening pleasure. And I would also say there, make sure you download us because that's important. We want to keep coming back and having you all listen to us. This episode is brought to you, as always, by the Tate Insurance Group. Now, if you are in the market for great locally based insurance professionals to help you with your home, your auto, your life insurance coverage, these are the folks. Don't look any further. They're great. They're locally owned. You can find more information at tateinsurancegroup.com, but we surely appreciate them and their partnership with the Lowdown. So let's get through it. Let's get going on today's show, Chris. Topic A, Saturday's dark mode game turned into a dark moment in time for the Josh Heupel era. Tennessee essentially hands a victory to Oklahoma on Saturday night. The Sooners, by winning, eliminate the Vols from college football playoff consideration for all intents and purposes with a 33-27 win in Neyland. Chris, this game had so much weight, so many implications. Two teams entering the game with 6-2 records, but two teams that also don't have wins against teams with winning records. I take that back. Oklahoma had one against Michigan, but Tennessee had none going into this game. So it was important from that perspective too. And it was also two teams that understand that the loser of this game will most certainly fall out of playoff consideration with 3 losses. One team with a top-tier defense, the other with a high-octane elite offense. And then you add into it all of the connections, all the subtext. Josh Heupel and Oklahoma football, epic dark mode game that began with a pregame show that had all of college sports and social media talking. Beautiful fall night. This one had the makings of a classic. And it looked in the early going like Tennessee was destined for victory until it didn't anymore, Chris.
Tennessee's been a team all year, really, Bob, when you think back. They've sort of lived on the edge. Even the 2 OT games they play. They played their other game at home that they lost, Georgia, mirrored this game in this fashion. Tennessee had a chance to knock Georgia out in that game. And they didn't do it. They're up for two touchdowns at home. The place is going crazy. Georgia comes back and wins an OT. Now, this game, somehow, some way, Oklahoma's leading at the half. I think they've thrown for 44 yards in the air, and Tennessee just completely had meltdown after meltdown. And again, with a chance, even they hung in there in the second half and came back, but they just couldn't put them away. And 3 turnovers, a season-high 3 turnovers. You're just not going to beat many top 20 teams when you turn the football over 3 times.
Yeah.
Joey Aguilar has played really good football. He has been a breath of fresh air this year. But, man, when he's had turnovers, they've been bad turnovers, crippling turnovers. And that was the case the other night. Now, one of them's not his fault. You got a freshman over there who forgot to block his guy. Of course, we're talking about David Sanders. And come around the end, and they knock Joey Never Sees It Coming, strip sack, touchdown. This is one we can't blame on the defense. I don't think any Tennessee fan out there,
right.
Did they play great? Did they play A-plus ball? No, but they certainly played well enough for Tennessee to win the ball game. And that's twice now against ranked football teams that on offense, Tennessee has given up touchdowns on offense. You know the defense in the last 3 games Here's a good one for you, Bob. In the last 3 games, Tennessee's given up 16 points. 16 points when the defense wasn't even on the field.
Yeah.
And that, to me, sort of in a lot of ways epitomizes what Tennessee's sort of been this year. They've been a little sloppy at times. They've been undisciplined at times. They've made way too many mistakes, and yet they've been in every game. They've had chances to win games. They just haven't been clean enough, disciplined enough. They haven't played what I would call the kind of crisp football you got to play to beat the best teams.
Yeah, I mean, well said on all of that. And that's, I think, the part that's so frustrating for so many. I mean, again, in the early going, I'll remind people, because I was watching it just like everyone else. At the beginning of the game, that first series, Tennessee took the opening kickoff. They were about to go 3 and out. They really were. They didn't look strong right off the bat. And there was a pretty costly, untimely defensive holding penalty called on Oklahoma. So that allowed us to keep the offense on the field after the penalty happened on a 3rd and long. And Tennessee made good on it. They marched down the field. Joey Aguilar TD passed to Braylon Staley. It's 7-0 Vols. And then after a stop on defense, the offense is driving again near the red zone, cooking through the air. But what you just talked about, R. Mason Thomas, that strip and score play, that, to me, that changed everything. It felt like what could have been a 14-0 Vols lead, because if you go back and look at that replay, Mike Matthews was open on that play, and that's who Joey was looking and intending to throw the ball to, but he could never get it, because of the blown assignment by Sanders. So a potential 14-0 Vols lead turns into a 7-7 tie. And I've talked to a lot of people. I wasn't in Neyland Stadium, but the people who were there said that kind of took the air out of the crowd. And that's some energy, in my opinion. I just felt like we never got back. And it was just the beginning of missed opportunities, questionable coaching calls. There's tons of examples. We could spend a whole show doing that, but we won't. But there's a couple. First off, and you talked about this, Chris, in the first half, we almost tripled Oklahoma in terms of total offensive yards. We had 255 yards total offense in the first half. Oklahoma had 98 or 99, but we were trailing 16-10 at half. It gave up those 3 field goals in the second quarter, and that was the difference. I wanted to get your take on this one. Josh declined a holding penalty on Oklahoma when they were just past midfield, forcing a 4th down, but it was a 4th down in remote field goal range. If we had taken the penalty and not declined it, it would have been 3rd and 20, and they would have been back past midfield roughly. And I know it's easy. It's kind of revisionist history, but I questioned it right when it happened. I was like, we don't trust our defense enough that we don't think we could stop them on a 3rd and 20. I mean, I know we haven't been good on 3rd and longs often, but we let Oklahoma's kicker with his short shorts go out and kick a 55-yard field goal. And I don't know, again, rather than give them a 3rd and very long, we hedged and we gave them points in a game where really just a few points was going to matter in the end.
Sandell can wear a thong for me if he's going to make 50 yards, especially 3 of them. I mean,
3 of them.
When's the last time you've seen a football game at any level, Bob, where some kids made 3 50-yard field goals?
It was crazy, man.
I mean, that kid can kick the fire out of it, man.
Sure could.
I thought the same thing, but this is the one thing I was thinking about, is I knew what kind of leg he had. I knew how consistent he'd been. So I knew he had range. And if you push him back, to your point, then, yeah, he's not going to make a 65-yarder, I don't think.
Yeah.
Or 66, I don't think he would. But I guess Josh did not want to give them another play at that point, which if you decline the penalty, which you did, you've got to try that. What was it, it ended up being a 56 or 57-yard field goal?
I think it was 55.
55. Okay. So that's even with that kid, Sandell, that's a long field goal.
Right.
I don't know what the odds, I don't know what the metrics, the analytics, because everybody looks at analytics and metrics now, what they say. I did wonder, all right, if you give them another play and they make a 1st down, then it's almost as you said, well, we don't trust our defense to make a stop. I would say that's the right call, what he did, though, 9 out of 10 times, because most teams don't have a Sandell. They don't have a kid that from 55 yards is going to hit it. But Oklahoma did, and you gave him a chance to get some extra points there. So clearly it didn't go the way he wanted it to. you're right. You look back at decisions like that during a game, and there's I don't know, 5 to 10 that probably as coaches look and self-scout.
Yeah.
Maybe you would have done things a different way. But the bottom line is it should have never come down to him making 50-plus yard field goals. Tennessee had way, way too many opportunities to put points on the board, to finish drives, to not turn the football over at home. I mean, you're never going to get a better crowd than that, ever. Yeah. You're never going to get a better home field advantage than what Tennessee had Saturday night. And you just didn't capitalize on it. I think that's the thing that probably eats at Tennessee fans, the kids on that team, the staff. The crowd was ready. And I was in Ohio at the Ohio State game, so I got to watch most of it on TV after the game. And Fowler and Herbstreit were on and on about just what an unbelievable environment it was, and which it was. And when you get that, you're fortunate enough, blessed enough to get that kind of home field advantage at your place, man, you got to make it count. And Tennessee didn't get that done.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the superlatives I was seeing, like I said earlier, on social media and what we heard on the TV call, people were just like, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this pregame. This is spectacular. And it just feels like that was, something that really could have gotten everything going. And it felt like we were off to a great start. It just didn't happen. The turnovers you mentioned earlier, they were killers. And Joey, those interceptions that he threw, it felt like maybe it was almost like, I'm kidding, of course, but like the Sooner safeties were invisible to him, man. I mean, they were just kind of entering the picture every time the ball was on its downward descent. And they were not great throws. Those weren't. But I agree with you. I thought he played, by and large, a really solid game. I don't know where we would have been otherwise, because we sure weren't able to run the ball. And that was kind of jarring to see, too. So Oklahoma definitely schemed us on defense, I thought. But again, we helped them a lot. And the other one I'm going to talk about, and then, like I said, I'll stop this list because it could keep going. The 4th and short call that came up, I think it was around the 8-minute mark in the fourth quarter. We're trailing by 9 at that point. We're a little bit past midfield, and it's 4th and 1, and we're in 4-down territory. The Vols are going to go for it, which I totally agree with, but it felt like they were fiddling around, making a play call, and it forces them to call a timeout. And then, CeeLo, what gets me most is after the timeout, they line up kind of in jumbo, 3 tight ends, and and they run a short pass play in the flat. Triggered me a little bit. Felt like it was too soon after that Alabama disaster. This one didn't turn into a pick six. Joey throws it to freshman Jack Van Dorselaar, who just came into the game, true freshman, and he doesn't hold on to it. So it's a total waste of a play call. We turn the ball over on possession, and we also lose a timeout. And what bothered me the most was in a game where we've sat on this show and talked about penalties and how bad penalties have been for this team. This was as clean a game for Tennessee penalty-wise as I can remember. They only had 3. They had a couple of 3rd and long breakdowns on defense, which I've come to expect. But what you said earlier, even with a couple of those bad breakdowns, the defense played pretty well, certainly better than what we saw last week against Kentucky. And so it just leaves me to a point where I'm thinking how we lost this game is almost inexplicable. Do you know, you might have heard it when Fowler and Herbstreit were talking about it, because that's where I got this. This game marked the first time in 15 games against Power 4 opponents where Oklahoma scored 30-plus points. Mm-hmm. But to your point earlier, it really wasn't on the defense this time.
Well, yeah, one of them was a defensive score by Oklahoma.
Right.
So that's certainly not on Tennessee's defense. The 4th down call, yeah, maybe they were trying to figure out what they wanted there. Bottom line is they got a guy open, hit him in his face mask. He's only a freshman, and I hope that kid comes back and catches a bunch of balls in the next couple of years that lead to first downs and touchdown drives. I mean, that happens to everybody. Same with Gilbert, the kicker. I know he missed the field goal. A lot of people have been on his case all year long. And I bring up those 2 plays, Bob, because we can point to a ton of plays throughout the game. When you start talking about Tennessee not playing crisp football, there's missed tackles, there's busts on defense, there's throwing the picks, not the pick six, but the tackle not making his block, quarterback being fumbled. It's Joey not seeing the safety and throwing some bad picks. There's some other, a lot. That's 5 or 6 plays right there that you can point to. If you're gonna, you got to clean that up. And you're right; they only had 3 penalties, which was progress for Tennessee. But you had the 3 turnovers and some of the other plays that I talked about. That you just, again, when you're playing a really good team, a quality team, certainly a team like Oklahoma. Listen, Brent Venables can scheme you up on defense as well as anybody. You go back to last year's game. Tennessee had their problems with that defense. It's just Oklahoma could have played 20 quarters and not scored many touchdowns. That's how bad they were on offense. But, boy, he schemed Tennessee up pretty good on defense. In fact, Josh locked it down there in the last quarter and a half because he knew the only way they were going to lose that game is to turn it over or give Oklahoma a cheap touchdown. And now in this game, Tennessee had tons of chances. And this game almost was the – Tennessee fans may not want to hear this, Bob, but this game probably – Tennessee feels right now probably the way that Mississippi State felt back in September or October. Mississippi State outplayed Tennessee in that game. Would Tennessee have 2 defensive touchdowns in that game?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
They go to overtime. Tennessee finds a way to win it, to their credit. But I think if you ask 40 people who watched that game who didn't see things through maroon glasses or orange glasses, they would tell you that Mississippi State was the better football team that night and probably deserved to win. I think the same can be said about this game. I thought Tennessee, for the most part, was the better football team. They just made way too many mistakes, too many self-inflicted things that you just don't overcome and beat a team like Oklahoma.
Nah, that's right. That's right. You mentioned, by the way, because I'm right in that group of people who have been frustrated on the Max Gilbert field goal misses, because that was another thing that happened last night. He misses in this day and age, kind of a routine 37-yard field goal attempt. You don't miss those typically. That said, this is compliments of Adam Sparks at Knox News. Max Gilbert has the highest career field goal accuracy percentage in Tennessee history, still at 78%. So, I mean, and like I said, I'm raising my hand. I've been one too, like, man, we got to get a kicker. And it's like, he really hasn't missed that many. He's just missed some pretty consequential ones. That's the problem.
Selective memory, Bob. It's called selective memory.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right. That's right. Real quick, individually, again, like some people, I've even heard some people picking on Aguilar, saying it's time maybe now we're not going to be in college football playoff consideration. Maybe we bench him and start giving some of the new guys some run. Come on, man.
It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Totally disagree with that. Yeah.
I'm being facetious, obviously.
Oh, no, I know. In total, he had a really good game because, again, the running game was non-existent. Joey was 29 of 45, almost 400 yards, 397, had 3 TDs. He did have the 2 picks. Meanwhile, our running game, which has been pretty solid, right? 33 carries for 63 yards in this game. Yeah. It was rough. It was rough. So the way we made our hay was through the air, and man, the big 3, they were there. Staley was great, 5 catches, 75 yards, couple TDs. Brazel, 6 catches, 68 yards. Mike Matthews, 3 catches, 76 yards, and a TD. And by the way, the emergence, it was nice to see Ethan Davis so active. 5 catches, 62 yards. That's another weapon. It's one we've all been waiting on, is to see if Ethan Davis can be kind of a regular go-to.
No, I think to me that one of the things this team has done best is make plays down the field in the pass game. They've done that, and it's very uncharacteristic for Josh's offenses not to be able to run the ball. That's been his bread and butter. Everybody talks about spreading it out and running a million plays at warp speed. But when I think of Josh Heupel offenses, I think of being able to run the football and get teams on their heels. And Tennessee wasn't able to do that. Again, Oklahoma really good on defense, and Brent's going to mix things up. He's going to come after you and give you different looks. They're going to jump in one thing out of another on defense, and they're always back when he was at Clemson. I've known Brent a long time. They were the best at doing those things, and Tennessee just could not generate any run game. And then what happens, Bob, is Aguilar has to throw it 45 times. I'd love to see stats. I'd love to see Tennessee stats or any team stats over the last 5 years. When you throw it more than 45 plus times, what a team's record is. I bet it's not great. As opposed to when you run the football for 150, 160, 170 yards. I'd love to see we need to get our trusty stat people there, Rocky Top Insider. Maybe get the Ryans involved and look those stats up for us. What Tennessee's record is when they throw it 45 plus times versus when they run for more than 150 yards.
Yeah.
And that I think, again, that underscores that was not a typical Tennessee effort under Heupel when they win.
Yeah.
And I get the frustration, and I'm sure you've heard it all day. I have via text and phone because I've been on the road most of the day. That's 5 straight losses by Tennessee to ranked teams going back to last year. And by and large, that's the way a coach and a program is judged. But I also would say, look around the league right now, and you start talking about stability, programs that are stable, programs that are healthy. And if you're feeling really bad about Tennessee football right now, I suggest check down at Baton Rouge, check down on the Plains at Auburn, check down at Gainesville, Florida, Lexington, Kentucky. Even though that was a huge win for Mark Stoops yesterday, which ultimately cost Hugh Freeze, and it's not funny, but cost Hugh Freeze his job.
Right.
Talk to the folks in Columbia, South Carolina right now. So I still think the program is plenty stable, plenty healthy. They're recruiting at a high level. Tennessee is. Is this a disappointment that they're not going to make the playoff? Yeah, but I thought before the season, Bob, that Tennessee would be right on the fringe. I don't know about you, but right on the fringe of being a playoff team. But you know what I didn't know? I didn't know they'd be playing. I'm not making excuses. These are facts. I didn't know they would be playing without their 2 top corners the whole season.
Right.
Gibson and McCoy. I didn't know that. I didn't know they'd have injuries in the middle of that defensive line early in the season when they played Georgia at home. So has it been a great year to this point? No, but I'll say this. There's still a lot to play for because you know as well as anybody, 9-3 looks a whole hell of a lot different than 7-5, especially when your last 2 losses in that scenario would be to Florida and Vanderbilt.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, the last thing I'll say about this, and this will, I don't want to sound too bitter, but it is disappointing. I mean, this was truly a golden opportunity that was wasted. And the reason I say that is because what happened earlier in the day, the nationally ranked 8th, 9th, and 10th ranked teams in the country all lost on Saturday. So this was an opportunity for Tennessee to creep up to likely 11th or 12th in the rankings, which meant they would be on the cusp of, if not in the field of 12 in that first release of the college football playoff rankings that come out on Tuesday. And with the win, Tennessee would have eliminated another SEC team with the same ambitions. And it would have been the Vols' first win against a team with a winning record this season. Instead, they're out of the running for the playoffs, now in danger, like you said, of, God, we don't want to see them go 7-5. But I'm with you. I think back to the beginning of the season, and I was really more in the mindset that this was an 8-4, 9-3 team. I just got to remind myself of that. And the last thing I'll say, because I know we got a guest coming up, pretty special one here in a little bit, and I buried the lead. I didn't even mention that at the beginning. But in a college football climate where coaches are getting canned weekly, I believe, now I will say this, I think it's created a more legitimate debate on whether or not Josh Heupel has plateaued. It does not mean he should be fired. We're already hearing some of that out there in the, Twitter sphere, whatever you want to call it, in social media. I think this team might have gotten a little bit overrated by all of us and our expectations after the way they played against Georgia. They lost the game, but I mean, they were high octane and they caught, they had Georgia's attention. And look, I think with Josh, his 5 seasons here, it goes without saying the positives have far outweighed what's not been happening recently. The last thing I'll say is we don't want this because I saw a post you put on X, Chris, about what's going on at Auburn and the state that they are in with what they're going to have now their 4th coach in 5 years.
7 years,
yeah, something like that. That was us. That was us a decade ago. I don't want to go back there. And in this open market right now, there's so many jobs. You got to watch out. Be careful what you wish for, as the saying goes. So, I really believe that. I will say this: and you and I were texting about this, I think you would agree. I think 2026 is going to be a really critical year for Josh Heupel. There's no doubt. I think it's fair to say that. I think the expectations should be fair to say that.
Well, you're talking about hot seat season. I tell you who's not on the hot seat is someone who's going to join us right now, Mr. VFL, Mr. Headband, the pride of Pearl-Cohn High School, Mr. Ron Slay. Ron, I know you're in the airport. I know you're jet setting around the country, man, but we appreciate you joining us tonight on the RTI Lowdown. Hoop season upon us, man. Let's get right to it. We saw the Vols against Duke, a really talented Duke team in the exhibition. They crank it up for real tomorrow night. What do you like best from what you've seen about this Tennessee team?
First of all, CeeLo, can you guys hear me good?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
All right. The second thing is, man, that picture you got right there, that's one heck of a picture right there, man. I tell you that. I don't know where you pulled that from the archives, but if the people could go back before that picture and see who was in that picture with me, the great wizard Tony White was alongside me on this day. So, hey, man, that made me go straight back to that memory right there. Great event they had in Knoxville for the Hall of Fame. So, appreciate that, Lo. That was a great introduction and a great photo.
Well, hey, you're a photogenic kind of guy. Listen, you're Lolita Slate's son, so you're gonna make good photos, right?
One thing for sure, you got to smile, even if it's some pain going on. You better smile. I know that. Hey, man, but you hit on the thoughts about this Vols team. I think, man, coming off the last 2 years and watching what Rick Barnes was able to do with experience and veterans, always had somebody to lay down the foundation and the culture of your program when you had Jemai Mayshak, Zakai Ziegler. I almost said Baskerville. He's been gone. It seemed like he's still there though. But you have a guy like Jordan Gainey being able to come in and fit, and Chaz Lanier. They made it easy for guys like Chaz Lanier and Dalton Connect. But now you don't have that in the form of guards, and we know what he puts on the plates and the shoulders of his guards. You got to be a strong-willed guy to be able to handle that. So now you replace that with Jacoby Gillespie and a freshman in Nate Ament coming into that situation. So it's kind of like what Bob just said. Like you gotta be a little bit patient and not over-evaluate this team just because of the success that they've had in the past and carry that into this year. Just for the simple fact of you got front court guys that are supposed to be the leaders now and the culture providers. So you're looking for a guy like JP Estrella, who hasn't played in a year, to pick back up where he left off. You're looking for Cade Phillips to take that next step. And finally, be that guy that could be a Swiss Army knife, whether that be at the small forward position, at the power forward spot, switching off guard point guards to make it difficult for those guys. And then Felix Akbara. You need him to be able to take that next step, to be able to take the torch that Zakai left for Defensive Player of the Year and nationally recognized as a guy that can anchor a defense. That's what you're looking for Akbara to do. So you, in a sense, switch from him being a guard-oriented team as far as leadership and culture setting goes to now it being in the front court. So I think, guys, people, the fans got to be patient with this group. And when I speak of patience, I'm just meaning all the way to late December. Not saying in February, wait for them to get it going. No, this should come right along quickly as far as the defensive mindset, people buying in, and that brotherhood that you come to know and love. You know what I'm saying? So I think this team, man, the heights should be, expectations should be Elite Eight. And then where it goes from there, we all know, man, you better bring it night in and night out to try to advance to get to that Final Four.
I want to ask you something, and I'll let Bob jump in for a couple questions because everybody asks me this. You're better to answer this than me. The kid as talented as Ament. What does it take, Ron, to learn to play through the contact, to score through the contact? Because we know he can get his own shot. The kid's 6'10". He's got the ball skills of a guard. What is that like? What does it take? How long does it take in a league like the SEC to learn to play through that contact and make tough twos in and around the basket?
Man, you gotta combine the mentality and the physicality. I know a lot of people would jump out and say, man, he's He's kind of light, kind of built slighter frame, but you can combat that if you're mentally strong and looking and searching and understanding that this is a different level. This isn't high school. So mentally, you need to be there. Physically, if you just listen to what Big Garrett is going to put you through, like Big G, everybody knows, man, that's familiar with Vols basketball. The strength and conditioning coach, Big G, is out there and he is live and direct and looking to feed you any weight that you will eat. So if he buys in just to that, you combine those two, he will be ready. And understand too that what you see right away in non-conference is not what you're gonna see in SEC play, and that it shouldn't be like that. We had a college basketball seminar last week, and being able to talk to the officials, the head of officials, and him saying that it shouldn't be a big gap in leaving non-conference, going to conference play, and then going to the tournament play. It should all kind of blend together, and it hasn't been that case. So I think the officials are going to try to do a better job of letting that all blend together, which is good. So mentally, the way you prepare now, we'll have you ready by the time you get into the middle of conference play, getting ready to go into the tournament. So Nate, Ament, he can actually do it, man. He can easily do it, but he has to listen to these guys. He has to test his guys in practice. And Cade Phillips, Jalen Carey, those have to be the guys to bring him along. They cannot take it easy on them in practice. You got to let them feel them bumps and bruises, not to hurt anyone, but just to let them know a forearm to the chest every now and then is welcoming. Like, understand it, embrace it, know where you're going to go, get to the foul line, knock it down. And it's going to be that simple, because if you fight against it, you'll be fighting City Hall. And there's not many, except maybe John Gotti that beat City Hall before. So.
Hey, Ron, this is Bob. And let me just tell you, first off, I was born and raised in the state of Indiana, so basketball is my jam. I know I'm in football.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. But, man, I love talking ball. Loved watching you play because I've lived here most of my life. And, I just, this is a treat getting to talk to you for a few minutes, and I do appreciate you hopping on.
Man, no doubt, Bob. I'm glad to be on with you. Anybody that can deal with CeeLo for longer than 40 minutes, 35 to.
Yeah, we could
just
talk
don't
about
tell
that
any
later.
secrets, Ron, on our road trips. All right, that's the only thing that you can't talk about.
Sticking with Ament for a second, because I was at that the exhibition against Duke, and my word, Carlos Boozer, or Cameron Boozer, Carlos's daddy, but Cameron Boozer, that guy looks ready-made already. And I was watching Nate, and I think some of the things you just said really held true for me too. I was sitting there thinking about this. It's like, this, I guess, is just a result because everybody's of the assumption that Nate's going to be a one and done player. And, the thing is that's how the NBA operates, right? They operate now on, what the potential ceiling is, not so much what they're doing in the moment itself. So I guess, and he's got all those skills. I get it. But boy, that night, and they weren't playing head to head, of course, but that night it felt to me like, okay, this kid's really special, but he does have a ways to go.
Yeah, Bob, I lost you and CeeLo right there. I think it might have been this government shutdown that's going on in the airport. Somebody tried to get in, tap us and disconnect us. I heard the back end of your question. I think it was about Ament and where he is compared to a guy like Cam Boozer.
Yeah, what I was saying was that while they didn't go head to head, I was at that scrimmage or exhibition, as it were, and he the difference between those two was like night and day. And we know Nate's special. There's no question about it. But I guess it's that whole notion that, I'm sitting there thinking, maybe he won't be a one and done guy, which I doubt, because the NBA, I know, operates more on ceiling than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just wanted to get your take on that. I know we talked a little bit about it already, but I was just thinking, like, this is such a loaded freshman class with Boozer and Devonsa and this Darren Peterson blowtorch. There's just a lot of great players.
Yeah, it is. And you gotta love when you go up against competition like this, because you always, as a competitor, you always want to try to find that barometer and see who you equal up against. Like, how good am I on this stage versus this guy? I know that's how we before social media. I'm gonna date myself on this. See, Lord, love this. Before social media, you have to wait till you meet one of these guys at a summer camp or AU circuit. You know, it wasn't nothing else to go by. So you just had to wait till you played them one-on-one, regardless if you matched up or not. It was your team versus his team, and you were the key guy on that squad, and so was he. So watching Cam Boozer, I think the separator, and everybody has training, everybody has development, and everybody has people that prop them up on these stages. What Cam Boozer has is a father that played in that league and in college and dominated, a guy that was an all-star in the NBA, a guy that wasn't the most athletic guy, and taught him about angles and things of that nature. Cam Boozer had an old school game. Like
Yes,
that was right up my alley. We working angles, throwing it up there, a la Moses Malone, and throwing it on the rim, going to go get it. Like, I mean, like that. I love that right there. So it just shows you the polishing and the IQ of what he's had coming up. And I think another thing is the patience that he has. It's a little bit different with having the patience, knowing you're going to get the ball every time. You're not rushing for your shots. Everybody understands what the role is on that team around you. And I think Duke is a little bit ahead of Tennessee in that aspect, with Nate Ament still, in a sense, trying to figure it out because he has so much that he can bring to the game. You know, we saw, especially with Coach Barnes, you saw a guy, the way he developed Kevin Durant and took his time with him. So maybe in the back of Coach Barnes' head he's thinking, man, maybe I ought to try this a little earlier with him, which I didn't do with KD. Give him the ball, let him be the point guard, some pitch of the head, let him go get busy on the wing, run some more ISOs. Like we've never really seen Rick Barnes run ISOs for guys, but give him the ball and let him clear out the side. So, I mean, it's a lot of people that's going to have to get used to these things, and Nate Ament is one of them. I think he will come along, and like you said, nothing's going to fall. He's not falling out of the top 10 of the draft, regardless of how this year goes. It does not matter. People's jobs rely on them drafting him, so he's not going to fall. We can sit down and watch Keon Johnson, Julian Phillips, all these guys that had, you know, honestly, just a solid SEC season, and they still go high in the draft. You best believe Nate Ament will still be right there. But I love the back and forth. Cam Boozer, just let them know, Nate, I'm used to this stage and want it. You got to want it too.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, so another freshman on the Vols that I want to talk about, because I figure you can appreciate this guy too. I know Coach a little bit, and so we've talked, and I know one kid that he's very high on is Dwayne Brown, and we saw it in that exhibition, man, and he feels like a Barnes guy to me, right? He's like, you know, he's probably a 4-year guy, but man, his game, you talk about, like you said, kind of not old man game, but it was old school. He was just there in the right place at the right time, making stuff happen. I'm very excited about him.
Man, super excited. Now that's up my alley. That's my Dwayne Brown. That young man right there. If this was a non-conference game leading up to it, and you had Scout to go on, and he had already kind of proved himself to Coach Barnes, and knowing he was going to get in the game, he's the one that I would think would be licking his chops to get a hold of Cam Boozer. Like, their game is ideal. Can you imagine the ref said, we just going to let them play? Oh, man, it would have been blood, stitches, butterfly stitches. Chad Newman would have had to come on the court 2 or 3 times to heal the guy. Like, that's what we wanted to see. And I think that's what he's going to bring. That was a great coming out party for him, to get him ready for the season, to challenge the guys in front of him. This young man right here, talk about working angles. He understands that I'm not about to go out here and jump no 38, 40-inch vertical. I'm not about to do that. I'm a lot of times going to play under the rim. So what do I got to use? I got to use this butt and these hips to carve out space. Hopefully these guards can get a good direct pass in, which they haven't had to do since Grant Williams. So somebody have to go back in the time machine and look at some film to see how to feed the post. Get him involved that way, and man, he's going to get you in the bonus. This guy come off the bench easily could be 6 man a year, average 8 and 6 easily.
We used to call it Slay a YMCA game. what we call it. Where you back your guy down.
Yeah.
Old school. Adrian Dantley. Bob
yes,
remembers
sir.
Adrian Dantley. AD, baby.
Oh yeah.
Those wine stage tight. So hey, out on the perimeter. So Gillespie is he is a big time player. We know that. We got some young guys I think that you're going to see. Who are the guys that Tennessee needs to see step up, Slay? If Gillespie gets into foul trouble, if he has an injury where he's out of the game, but who are the one or two guys out there on the perimeter do you think really need to be guys that develop and emerge for Tennessee this year?
I think the young fella in classification, Berg, but not in age, would be one of those guys that have some kind of impact or a splash, kind of like Santiago had. Baskerville, when he first came over, be able to do a little bit more than you expected him to do when the game tips off. May not see it every time in practice, but he looks like he's going to be one of those guys, veteran, doesn't get shaken, and is a gamer. You love to see Bishop Boswell take that step. He understands the system. But, man, at some point, and we saw it during the tournament, you got to have guys go put it in the hole. Now, it's okay to run the system, run the plays, D up, but, man, you got to be a threat to go in there and put the ball in the hole, whether that be driving and getting contact or making the open shot. So I think that's his next step. But the two freshmen, Abrams coming in and with the Greg Anthony T-shirt underneath, I love that. And then you get Amari Evans with his size. If he gets it at 6'5", they got him listed 6'5", 220. Man, that's close to 2 inches off of Vincent Yarbrough. Now I don't know what his measurements are like, but as a freshman, you don't see freshmen come in with a size and a body like that. So if these two guys can get acclimated and bring something to the team, I think those are the guards. And I'm not saying like Jacoby, they'll say go 4 flat and let them go get a bucket. But those are some of the guys. You can see some of them tight curls that we haven't seen in a while. Tight curls that you see coming around the elbow. And if you don't pull up, go in there, get contact, a little lean and a bump. Abrams and Evans should be able to do that. And Berg just with his savviness.
You took the words out of my mouth on Abrams because you were talking about guys that are right up your alley. I was watching Abrams in that exhibition, and with the headband and the loose T-shirt, I swear I thought I was looking at a smaller version of you, man, because he came out with some energy too. He hit his bucket and he was like pounding his chest a little, and I figured we are going to need him also because he's played, man. That's the other thing. He's played a bunch of places, but he's had the reps. So I think that one's key. The last thing I wanted to ask you is, in this era of NIL, we talked about this with your boy Ramon Foster a couple of weeks ago on the show. In this era of NIL, do you ever kind of pine for man, why wasn't that around when I was playing?
Hey Bob, listen here, man. I'm telling you, this past summer I had knee replacement. So they put me to sleep, and I could have sworn I had a dream that they put me back, man. I was back in college trying to negotiate deals, man. Now the funny thing is, mine was with Subway. Now I wanted something way bigger, like Copper Cellar, Gus's, you know what I mean, a good hibachi spot or something. But Subway would have did the deal. But I do remember when I woke up, I did ask him, man, is it any way possible, like you can give me a little bit of that serum, so during the weekend I can inject that and go back. I think about it all the time, Bob. Like I would love that, and it's difficult not to get jealous of it. That's the biggest thing. So I try to keep it out of my mind. But man, you hear some of these deals, and I think the part that gets me the most is not necessarily what the guys are getting, but it's what they've done to get it. Like that's the part. Like, you're getting a lot of these deals off potential, what you will do, not what you did already, man. So that's the part that I'm like, woo. And then off the court, I don't even see a lot of these guys off the court. You would have saw me everywhere at your local Weigels all the time. Ain't no telling where I would have been, man.
Hey, Ron, man, it's we could do this all night. I know you got a plane to catch, and anytime you get to spend a little time with you and drop Moses Malone references, man, that's worth it in itself. But one last thing, we're going to give you your shot, because when Ramon was on here a few weeks ago, we asked him to make a his case for why he was the most talented athlete in the family, here's your chance.
See, this is the first thing. See, Ramon is gonna tell y'all, man, that he's not really 6'6". He taller than. See, first of all, I got the height advantage. At being 6'8", I'm gonna be a lot more attractive to the eye to whatever sport. And see, this is the thing. Basketball, football. I remember, let me share this with y'all. Man, y'all, the next time y'all get the opportunity to talk to Coach Cutcliffe, y'all ask Coach Cutcliffe, who got me on the radar of Tennessee basketball? He got up there, talked to Coach Ferg by coming to see John Henderson walking through the gym. And I look over there, Coach Fitzgerald walking through with an old white guy. We're in the inner city. I said, oh, this must be a sponsor for AU or something. So I started dunking left and right. He went up there and told Coach Ferg and him what it was going to be. Y'all need to get y'all eyes on him. Coach Ferg and him came back and was like, oh, man, he might be one. Next thing I know, man, I remember in the summer, he said, I tried to tell him, man, we wanted you to play a little tight end. Now, little did he know, I don't like messing around across the middle or doing no blocking. You had to put me out there on the edge to run a fade or something. I'm just saying, CeeLo, as the most attractive athlete in the family, man, basketball or football, they was coming to the door, CeeLo. That's all I'm saying.
But we got to get shot. Can you imagine, Bob, John Henderson and Ron Slay, the same high school? You got Big John just recently inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. And one reason I love Slay so much is he was not only quotable when I covered him as a basketball player, when I did stories on other athletes, a.k.a. John Henderson, I'd go to Slay. He was my money guy. And I called Slay. I saw him. I said, hey, I'm doing this big piece on they call him Big Joe, and on John Henderson. Give me a good story. Give me a funny anecdote from John in high school. You take it away, Slay.
Man, funny anecdote on John, man. We were getting ready to play. I always tell this story, man. Big Joe loves it too. Man, we were getting ready to play, I think, Springfield. And it's the latter part of the season. We need this victory to go. This is our first run at the state championship at Pearl-Cohn. So we need this win for seeding purposes, to get into the playoffs back then. So Big Joe car gets stolen. His car gets stolen, so Big Joe is sitting on the curb on the sidewalk where his car was taken from, and the police, Officer Koga, I'll never forget, Officer Koga walks up to him and says, Joe, we're going to find your car. Don't worry about that. It's going to be okay. But do you have insurance? Big Joe looked up and said, yeah, I got insurance. He said, well, what's your insurance, Joe? He said, I got Blue Cross Blue. To know, like, are you sure that's your insurance? Joe, like, yeah, that's my insurance. He said, no, that's your car insurance. You need your car insurance, Joe, not that one. So that was funny. Let alone, hold on, that ain't the best of it. The bus is waiting. We're all on the bus to go to Springfield. We're about to be late. So the game starts at Springfield. Y'all got to get Coach Fitzgerald to tell this. The game starts at Springfield. Joe is lollygagging through the first quarter. I mean, you can tell something's on his mind. Man, Coach Fitzgerald called the timeout midway through the first and told Joe, grab him by the face mask. He said, you want to get mad at something? Son, them the boys that stole your car. They found your car. They the ones stole your car. Hey, man, Springfield will never forget John Henderson. He wrecked havoc. Tremaine Turner, Thomas Claudia, them boys was running for their life, man. I never seen this dude go into a different mode like this right here.
That's fantastic.
Slay, man. Listen, you got to catch a flight, brother. We'll catch up down the road with the tournament. We'll reconvene. I owe you, man. I owe you a couple of lemonades somewhere down the road. And,
as long as it's mixed with something, CeeLo, I'm good, baby. Let's do it.
Hey, listen, thanks, man. It's been great. We're proud of you. You keep up the great work on the SEC Network. Keep representing, my friend.
All right, appreciate you guys. All right, Bob, take it easy, brother. Keep this man in line, dog.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man.
The great Ron Slay, as they would say. I met Ron when he was 18, 19. Just come out of Oak Hill. Remember, he played at Pearl-Cohn in Nashville. But his last year, he went to Oak Hill Academy, played on just a loaded prep school team back then.
Yeah.
And was highly recruited and came to Tennessee. And just a great representative of the university and the athletic department. And ultra talented as he showed there, Bob. I mean, TV, radio. I'm with him every week in Nashville on 104.5 The Zone, and he's unbelievable. And again, I can't say there. I've been so blessed in my time at Tennessee to cover great athletes and get to know them. And I'm not going to start name dropping them here, but boy, Ron's right there at the top of the list.
Well, he just tells. I mean, that's the first time I've interacted with him, but he's one of those you could just hang with for hours, right? And let him cook, because he's probably got story after story and a lot of knowledge too, man. That's the other thing, because he was a hell of a crafty player at his prime at Tennessee too. So, all right, let's wow, that's a tough act to follow. But before we wind down the show, I wanted to take a moment and talk about our sponsor, the Tate Insurance Group. They're your local insurance team and proud to call East Tennessee home. Just like the Vols, they know what it takes to overcome obstacles. Well, maybe not last night, but they do overcome the obstacles at the Tate Insurance Group. They give their all, and they show true volunteer spirit for our community. From home and auto to business coverage, even a little bit of life insurance, they provide personal service that you can count on. And again, they care about what you care about, because this is where they live too. Tate Insurance Group, local, trusted, always in your corner, and right here at home. A couple of housekeeping items real quick as we go back just for a second on football, because that was fun to kind of have the diversion and talk about basketball. But with the loss for the football team last night to Oklahoma, Tennessee drops 9 spots in the latest AP poll. They dropped to 23rd. They dropped 8 spots to 22nd in the coaches poll. They're still one of 9 SEC teams that are ranked in both top 25s. Oklahoma moves up to number 11, Texas up to 13, Vandy drops to 15. Those top 3 SEC teams remain the same in both polls in the top 5. Texas A&M, Bama, Georgia. A&M and Bama didn't play this past weekend, but I don't know, CeeLo, it's going to be a little different these last few games. Of course, like you said, there's a lot still to play for, but it's I think the bye week hitting is probably a good thing for the fans and everybody alike, just because you have this whole crescendo of wanting to make the playoffs, and now that's almost a near certainty that it's not going to happen. So, but you got rivals coming up. You got Vandy and Florida. Those are games you want to win for pride, if nothing else, right? So, still a lot to play for.
Yeah, well, your show will be nice and quiet this week. Nobody will be critical or wanting Josh Heupel to be run out of town. I'm sure everybody will be understanding. It's,
absolutely.
Just an extracurricular activity, Bob. That's all it is. So
yes, that's true. So the Vols, for basketball, back to that, they open up Monday night against Mercer. And the part that's a little unfortunate is, in the midst of all this frustration with football, the way Rick has scheduled his season this far, as far as non-conference goes, the first 5 games for the Vols are what we would call bye games, B-U-I games. So they're pretty light opponents. It'd be nice if the basketball team had some big showdown with somebody, and they will soon enough, about 3 weeks from now against Houston, number 2 in the country currently. Mm-hmm. That'll come, but I think with this team, I think he probably felt, Chris, with all the new personnel and stuff, they probably needed to still work through some stuff before they get to those kind of level games.
Well, they're going to play them. That's the main thing. You're going to have those games. He scheduled those games that you hope pay dividends with the selection committee and seeding when you get to March.
Yeah.
You're just not going to play as many of them here to start the season. And listen, I think you're right. I think coaches all look at their team, who they got coming back, and some of these, obviously, a lot of schedules made up before you know for sure who you're going to have. But the main point is you're going to play those type of games. They just don't have any the first couple weeks of the season. As a fan, would I like to see him playing somebody in game 2, game 3 that's a top 20 team? Yeah, I would. I'd like to see what we saw against Duke the other night. You get a real measuring stick where this team is, but it's not like they go into these games not having played good competition, because remember, there's also a scrimmage against Ohio State even before the Duke game, which was on TV. We all got to see, but I wish we could see teams develop like the old school days that would play together. Now, I guess with JJJ and Santi, that there was some of this that play together for 3+ years, but there's also something pretty cool about seeing new guys every year. That like an Ament, like a Gillespie. Now, Gillespie's not new to the sport, but he's new to Tennessee. And that's pretty funny. I mean, I remember going to practice the first time I ever saw Dalton play. It was in a practice, and knew that they liked him, knew that they felt like he had a chance. Now, I had no idea he was going to be, the SEC Player of the Year. But I'll never forget watching him over there at the practice facility. And I was with Tony White, my longtime friend, and we were watching the practice. And Rick was just all over Dalton. I mean, he was just in his grill every second of practice about cutting and cutting more sharply and looking for the basketball and posting his guy up. And I looked at Wiz and I said, Rick thinks this kid can play, because he was on him. I mean, It was unmerciful. And sure enough, they start playing. And that very first game was at Michigan State, where he's behind his back and he dunks the basketball.
God, yeah.
And pretty quickly, there were a couple rough. People forget their first few games against some better teams, he struggled a little bit. I think he struggled against Purdue out in Hawaii a little bit. But boy, right after that, man, he took off. And I think we'll see something very similar of Ament. But I think it's cool, Bob, to see new people like that in the program. Two new players, certainly players the caliber of Gillespie and Ament that have all the skills in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, Barnes said the same to me about Connect with that Michigan State game, because he goes, I got to be honest, I didn't know that much about him. And I was, not skeptical, but I was not sure yet of what I was getting. And then he goes, I saw him do that ball behind the back, posterized dunk move against a team like Michigan State. And he was like, okay, yeah, I get it now. We got something special here. So, yeah, I think it's going to be great. And if you're a big hoop head, yeah, Tennessee's playing Mercer on Monday night, but there's big games starting this week, man. Number 15 Alabama going to St. John's on Saturday. Texas playing at number 6 Duke just on Tuesday, a couple days away. Arkansas at Michigan State, who we were just talking about. So, I mean, some teams are going right at it. So it'll be no time before Tennessee's getting those kind of matchups out in Vegas. It'll be a fun season for sure. One last thing today before we try to wrap up, and that is, this is back in Vol Nation again. I wanted to get your take, CeeLo. How about Josh Elander going out and poaching Florida's interim head baseball coach to add to the staff? I think he, in a heartbeat, did a flex move that had, if anybody was worried that all he was doing was inheriting Tony's program and just going to be kind of the caregiver of it. No, I don't think so. I think his message was, no, I'm not only going to be the caregiver, I'm going to try to make it better than it already is.
To me, it just shows how secure Josh is in his own skin. Here he has taken over his own program for the first time. Yeah, Frank's going to still be there, Ross Kevin. He's going to keep his staff intact, but he's not afraid to go outside the program and bring in somebody of this caliber. And I think that shows, even though he's not been a head coach, that he's got certainly the maturity of a head coach, that he's trying to get stronger. The best coaches, Bob, and you know this, they surround themselves with people they feel like are going to challenge them. People that have maybe come from different umbrellas or what have you, but certainly people who maybe have done it a different way, who have been successful. And I think that's what Josh has done here. And, you lose, it's a little bit of a different deal. You lose your head coach. So you do have a spot available on your staff. Just like if let's say Tony still would have been here and Josh would have taken a job somewhere, he would be filling that job.
Right.
Well, in this situation, Josh is doing it, but he's going out and getting a guy who could easily be a head coach really pretty much anywhere in the country.
Yeah.
And by the way, has done it in your conference at a high level. So, yeah, I mean, a great move. And I really look forward to seeing these guys again. Josh keeping the show running. We had Reese Chapman on last week.
Right.
And it was obvious from listening to Reese talk what it meant to the players. Not just because they wanted to stay status quo, because of what Josh Elander has meant to the program, recruiting, off the field. Go talk to Christian Moore. I mean, I've had a chance to talk to some of these kids even before Tony left to go to the Giants. And they raved about what Josh Elander had meant to them as a coach, as a mentor, as someone that they could talk to about a lot of different things, and someone that improved them greatly as a baseball player. So, hey, we talked about this last week. Danny White little bit of pressure on him from the former players, the current players, some of the money people around the program to stay in-house. I think Danny did it exactly the way he should. He went and talked to other coaches, people outside the program. He interviewed other people and came back to this conclusion that the best guy was right there in front of his nose to keep the show going, so to speak, and that's what they've done. So I'm happy for Josh. I'm happy for the Tennessee baseball program.
No doubt. Yeah, but remember the name, Chuck, I think I got it, Girolaman.
Right. That's pretty good. You nailed it.
Yeah, former associate head coach at Florida. He'll assume the same title here at Tennessee. Again, big statement hire by Elander. And like you said, that's how I used to manage when I led big teams in my corporate life. You might find that hard to believe, Chris, but I did some other things besides hang out with you. But you surround yourself with people who are smarter than you and respectfully will tell you no sometimes, you know, with good reason. And man, that's a sign of somebody that's comfortable in their own skin and what they believe in, you know, is going to be the right thing to do. So, man, this was a fun show. Really appreciate Ron Slay joining us. Appreciate you setting that up, Chris. And you, the listener, we appreciate you watching or listening, however you choose to do it. We'll be back next week with another edition of the RTI Lowdown. Now, a reminder that the football Vols are on a bye this week. That might be a blessing, just to give everybody a little mental health time to step away from it. But there'll be college football action to recap. And, of course, we'll continue to drill down on Vol basketball, too, in the season ahead. As always, many thanks to our sponsor, the Tate Insurance Group. Make sure you like and subscribe your show, or this show rather, that you're watching on the Rocky Top Insider channel on YouTube, or download our podcast wherever you listen to your pods. Appreciate you all being a part of the show. Chris, always enjoy it with you, my friend. Appreciate the time today. I hope you have a great week ahead.
Yeah, same to you, Bob. A lot of fun. And again, as you said, thanks to Ron. And we might have to get Scott Tate on the show. Scott was quite the athlete back in Ohio.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Basketball player, football player. So maybe we'll get Scott on here one time.
Yeah, no, that sounds good to me. All right, everybody. This was another edition of the RTI Lowdown. Hope you have a great week ahead, and we will see you next time on Rocky Top Insider.